There's a kind of faith that doesn't shake when the wind blows. There's a kind of faith that stands when nothing around you looks like the promise. There's a kind of faith that goes deeper than declarations, deeper than a moment of inspiration, deeper than goosebumps on a Sunday morning. It's rooted. Rooted faith is not faith that visits God. It's faith that abides. It's not faith that only prays when things are hard. It's faith that worships when nothing makes sense. And I want to talk to the person who's been praying for a breakthrough, crying for a miracle, pacing the floors at night, wondering, when will it happen for me? Because I know how it feels when you've been obedient, when you've stayed faithful, when you've sown in tears, yet the harvest seems delayed. You see others getting ahead. You see doors opening for people who never even knocked. And the enemy starts whispering lies. Maybe you're forgotten. Maybe God skipped over you. Maybe you're not enough. But hear me, breakthrough is not an event. It's a revelation. Before it's ever public, it's personal. Before it's ever seen, it's sensed. And the real breakthrough, the lasting one, the kind that changes your soul, not just your situation, comes when your faith takes root. Because what God is doing in you is not shallow. He's not just trying to fix your life. He's transforming it. He's anchoring you in Him, not in the outcome. Not in the applause, not in what you think you need, but in Him. Do you know why some storms come? They come not to destroy you, but to reveal how deeply you've been planted. Shallow faith is loud. It needs constant signs. It needs confirmation after confirmation. But rooted faith says, even if I don't see it yet, I know who my God is. Rooted faith says, even when the doors are still closed, I know I'm still chosen. Rooted faith says, I don't need a crowd to affirm what God whispered in secret. Rooted faith allows God to prune you without panicking. It allows you to walk through hidden seasons, not with bitterness, but with grace. Because you understand that buried is not the same as forgotten. That planted is not the same as punished. You were planted to grow. You were planted for depth. You were planted so that when the wind comes, and it will come, you won't be shaken. You won't be the person that faith only works for when it's easy. You'll be the one who carries peace in the storm, not just when the sun is shining. You'll be the one who walks with authority because your roots were tested in silence, in struggle, in secret. The breakthrough you're longing for is already underway. Not when the job comes, not when the marriage happens, not when the followers increase, but when your heart says, God, I still trust you, even now. The moment you surrender not just the outcome, but you need to understand it. That's when real breakthrough begins. Because rooted faith doesn't cling to the how. It rests in the who. And maybe you've been asking for something to happen, and God has been waiting for something to deepen. Maybe He's not trying to break something open around you. Maybe He's trying to break something open in you. Your dependence, your striving, your timeline. Real breakthrough comes when your heart no longer needs proof to trust. When your prayers shift from a God, do it now, to a God, do it your way. When your soul stops negotiating with delay and starts dancing in grace, that's when you know your faith isn't surface anymore. It's rooted, it's real, and it's ready. So let them laugh, let them doubt, let them assume your silence is defeat. Because what they don't see is that beneath the surface, your roots are growing deeper. And when God is ready to bring you into that visible season, you won't just rise, you'll remain. You won't just touch it, you'll sustain it. You won't just taste it, you'll testify of it. Because the real breakthrough wasn't the blessing. It was becoming the kind of person who could carry it. And that kind of transformation only happens through rooted faith. Faith that doesn't flee. Faith that doesn't rush. Faith that's not seasonal. Faith that's anchored in the unchanging God, even when everything else changes. That is the real breakthrough. Rooted faith doesn't depend on visible results, but on unshakable trust in God's character. This kind of faith is not built in a day. It is developed through seasons, often in silence, often in hiddenness. It's the kind of faith that learns to walk with God without demanding constant signs or external validation. It's not easily moved by emotions or discouraged by what's not happening. Rooted faith says, even when I see nothing changing, I still believe God is working. It draws its strength from who God is, not from what life looks like. There comes a point in your journey where God invites you to walk in deeper trust. Not trust that is based on what He gives, but trust that is anchored in who He is. This is where many people struggle, because we often build our faith on the outcomes we desire rather than the nature of the one we follow. But rooted faith is different. It says, even when there's no evidence, I know God is faithful. It's not waiting for a breakthrough to confirm His goodness. It's already decided that He is good, even if the breakthrough never comes in the way expected. Faith that depends on results will always be unstable. It will rise and fall with every delay, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer. But rooted faith is not fragile. It knows how to wait. It knows how to worship when there's nothing to show for it. It knows how to walk when the path is unclear. Because it's built on the foundation of who God has proven Himself to be over and over again. It remembers the wilderness where He provided. It remembers the valley where He comforted. It remembers the moments when things didn't make sense, but His peace was present. That memory, that history becomes the root system that keeps the faith alive even in dry seasons. Sometimes God delays the visible breakthrough to develop invisible strength. Sometimes the waiting season is not punishment, it's preparation. He's fortifying your spirit. He's deepening your dependence. He's stripping away the crutches that you used to lean on so you can stand fully on Him. In this place, faith becomes less about what you say and more about how you live. How you live. You start walking in the kind of faith that doesn't need the applause of others or the evidence of progress to stay grounded. Rooted faith doesn't panic when God is silent. It rests. It doesn't make decisions out of fear. It waits. It doesn't compare its journey to others. It understands that everyone's story unfolds differently. It's not threatened by delay because it knows God is never late. Rooted faith is developed through resistance. It grows when it's stretched. It becomes strong in the storm. And even though storms may come to shake everything around you, they only reveal what's already rooted in you. This is why God sometimes removes what's visible. He shuts doors that look perfect. He pauses progress that seemed promising. He lets things fall apart, not to break you, but to show you that your foundation was never in the job, the relationship, or the opportunity. Your foundation is Him. And when everything else falls, you'll still be standing because your faith wasn't built on sand. Rooted faith doesn't perform for people. It doesn't try to appear strong. It simply is. It has endured enough with God to know that He is reliable. It doesn't need to chase signs because it's anchored in truth. It doesn't demand timelines because it trusts the process. It doesn't retreat in delay because it's grounded in destiny. This kind of faith is not popular, but it's powerful. It's not flashy, but it's fruitful, because when you're rooted, you become unshakable. You may bend, but you won't break. You may feel the pressure, but you won't collapse. How? Rooted faith doesn't wait to feel ready. It responds in obedience. It doesn't need a perfect environment to grow. It grows in the dirt, in the dry places, in the dark, because it knows that God is present even when it can't be seen. It finds peace in His promises, not in perfect conditions. It clings to His word, even when the world contradicts it. Rooted faith is stubborn in hope. It refuses to give up. It refuses to let go. It refuses to be moved by temporary setbacks because it's built on eternal truth. The enemy loves to attack your faith at the root. He doesn't mind surface level belief. He doesn't mind casual Christianity. What he fears is the kind of faith that knows how to survive winter. The kind of faith that doesn't shrink back. The kind of faith that doesn't need constant miracles to stay motivated. That's why your testing has been so intense. That's why your journey has felt so hard. It's because God is establishing something in you that cannot be shaken. He's building depth. He's removing the shallow layers. He's digging beneath the surface and planting something that will last. Rooted faith doesn't always look exciting, but it is effective. It's the reason you're still here. It's the reason you didn't quit. It's the reason you kept praying even when you felt nothing. It's the reason you stayed when it was easier to walk away. Because somewhere deep inside, your spirit knew that God was still present, still working, still worthy, still worthy. And that no wavering, unshakable knowing is the evidence that your faith is not floating, it's rooted. Breakthrough begins not when circumstances change, but when your surrender deepens. So often we think that the moment our problems disappear, the moment the doors swing wide open, or the moment the tide finally turns, that is when breakthrough happens. But real breakthrough is far more intimate than just a change in external conditions. It starts in the heart, in a place where you stop fighting for control and start yielding fully to God's timing and purposes. It begins when you learn to release your grip on what you thought your life should look like and trust Him with what He is doing, even if it looks different. The enemy tries to keep you focused on your situation, to fix your eyes on what's wrong, what's missing, or what's delayed, because he knows that as long as your heart resists surrender, your breakthrough will be delayed. The struggle to control, to understand, to force things to happen on your timetable only drains your strength and blurs your vision. But the moment you surrender your will, your timelines, and your expectations, something shifts inside. A deep peace settles. A door that was invisible before suddenly appears. The chains of anxiety and frustration begin to loosen. Surrender is often misunderstood. Many see it as weakness or giving up, but surrender is actually the ultimate strength. It takes courage to say, not my will, but yours. It requires trust to walk into uncertainty and still believe that God's plan is better than your own. When you surrender deeply, you are not stepping back into passivity. You are stepping forward into partnership with God. It's an active choice to align your heart with His, to say, I will follow wherever you lead, even if the path is unclear. In surrender, you find freedom. You stop wrestling with God's plan and start embracing it. You stop demanding answers and start living by faith. That is where the real breakthrough lives, not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of peace amid the struggle. When your heart is no longer a battleground of doubt and fear, breakthrough begins to take root. You begin to see that what you once saw as obstacles are actually opportunities for growth, shaping you into the person God is calling you to be. Many breakthrough stories start with a moment of surrender. The moment someone stopped pushing, stopped striving, and said, "Oh God, I trust you." That moment often comes after long seasons of hardship, after repeated prayers that seem unanswered, after nights filled with tears and questions. But that moment is pivotal. It marks the shift from relying on your own strength to relying fully on God's grace and power. It's the point where the invisible work inside you becomes visible in your life. Surrender deepens when you begin to understand that God's delays are not denials. They are divine preparations. They are seasons designed to strengthen your faith, increase your patience, and refine your character. Instead of viewing delay as failure, surrender invites you to see it as part of God's perfect timing. When you surrender to this truth, breakthrough comes not as a hurried escape from hardship, but as a triumphant emergence from a place of refinement. It's important to realize that breakthrough is not just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you need to be. God's purpose is not only to change your circumstances, but to transform your heart. The breakthrough you are longing for may not come in the form you expect because God's highest concern is your spiritual maturity. When you surrender deeply, you allow God to mold you, sometimes in uncomfortable ways, so that you are prepared to walk in your destiny with wisdom and strength. Surrender also teaches you humility. It breaks down pride and self-reliance, which are often barriers to breakthrough. When you try to do things on your own, you limit God's work in your life. But when you surrender, you acknowledge your need for Him. This acknowledgement opens the door for His power to work through you in ways you never imagined. It creates space for miracles, new doors, and divine encounters that only He can orchestrate. Another key aspect of surrender is patience. Breakthrough requires patience, but patience that is active, not passive. It's the patience that trusts God is at work even when you can't see it. It's the patience that continues to obey, continue to hope, and continue to believe in the unseen. This kind of patience is a product of deep surrender, knowing that God's timing is perfect and that He will bring forth the breakthrough at the right moment. Deep surrender often means letting go of control in areas where you feel most vulnerable. It means releasing your fears, your anxieties, and your plans into God's hands. It's an act of faith to say, I don't have all the answers, but I trust the one who does. This kind of surrender creates space for God's peace to rule in your heart. It frees you from the burden of trying to fix everything yourself and invites you to rest in His sovereignty. In surrender, you also discover the power of God's grace. Grace is unmerited favor, and when you surrender, you open yourself to receive that grace more fully. Grace strengthens you when you are weak, lifts you when you are weary, and empowers you to keep moving forward even when the way is hard. Breakthrough often comes through grace, through moments when God's power meets your surrender and brings about a transformation that only He could achieve. When your surrender deepens, your perspective changes. You begin to see life through God's eyes, not just your own. You start to understand that every setback, every trial, every delay is part of a bigger story, a story that God is writing for your good and His glory. This shift in perspective is a breakthrough in itself because it frees you from despair and fills you with hope. It allows you to keep going, keep believing, and keep trusting even when the road ahead looks long. Breakthrough is not just about crossing a finish line. It's about embracing the journey with faith. It's about growing in trust as you walk through the valley and the mountaintop. It's about surrendering daily, moment by moment, to the one who holds your future. When your surrender deepens, you find that breakthrough is not just an event to wait for, but a way of living. A continuous journey of faith that transforms you from the inside out. Out. God uses hidden seasons to grow unseen roots for public stability. These hidden seasons are often the most difficult, times when you feel alone, overlooked, or stuck. They are not the moments of victory parades or public celebrations. Instead, they are the quiet, solitary periods when it seems like nothing is happening. Yet these are the very seasons God uses to build something deep and lasting within you. In these hidden seasons, God is working beneath the surface, shaping your character, strengthening your spirit, and preparing you for the breakthrough that will come. Just like a tree, your faith needs roots that go deep into the soil before it can bear fruit. Those roots aren't visible, but they are vital. The tree cannot stand firm in the storms. Without them, the fruit cannot grow strong. Similarly, your breakthrough depends not only on what happens in the spotlight, but on what has been growing quietly inside you in those hidden seasons. Many people desire the glory and success, but overlook the process that leads to it. They want the harvest without the waiting. They want the fruit without the roots. But God's timing is perfect, and His process is intentional. When you feel like you're in a hidden season, it may seem like God has forgotten you. But the truth is, He is planting you for stability, for resilience, for lasting impact. It is often in these seasons of obscurity that your faith is tested and refined. When no one is watching, when you have no applause or affirmation, that's when your true character is formed. God is teaching you patience, humility, and dependence. He is teaching you to trust Him not because of what He gives, but because of who He is. The hidden season is the training ground for your breakthrough. It is where you learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Hidden seasons also build resilience. They prepare you to withstand the challenges that will come once your breakthrough arrives. Success without preparation can be fleeting. But when you have endured the quiet struggles, the disappointments, and the waiting, you become stronger. You learn how to hold on when the winds blow hard. You learn how to stand firm when pressure comes. Your roots grow so deep that no external circumstance can easily uproot you. Sometimes the hidden season involves pruning. God may remove certain things from your life, relationships, opportunities, habits, to help you grow in the right direction. Pruning can feel painful, but it is necessary for healthy growth. It makes your roots stronger and your fruit more abundant. When God prunes, He is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is clearing the way so that your breakthrough can flourish. In these seasons, it is easy to become discouraged or to compare your progress to others. You might see people around you moving forward quickly while you feel stuck or forgotten. But comparison is the thief of joy. Everyone's journey is unique. The hidden season is a sacred time of preparation that you cannot rush or skip. What God is doing in you right now is customized for your purpose and destiny. Faithfulness in hidden seasons requires trust. Trust that God is still present. Trust that He is still working. Trust that He has not abandoned you. Even when it feels like your prayers go unanswered, even when the breakthrough seems delayed, faith says, I will trust God's timing and His plan. This trust becomes the invisible root system that sustains you through the waiting. The hidden season is also a time for intimacy with God. When the noise of life quiets down, you have a chance to hear His voice more clearly. You can deepen your relationship with Him and learn to rely on His strength rather than your own. This closeness prepares your heart to receive the breakthrough God has for you. It changes your perspective from focusing on the problem to focusing on the provider. Many great stories of breakthrough began with long hidden seasons. The moments that looked like delay were actually God's preparation. What was unseen was being made strong. What was silent was being filled with power. The roots were growing deep, ready to support the visible success to come. This is why it is so important to embrace the hidden season. Rather than fighting it or feeling defeated by it, recognize it as a crucial part of your journey. It is not a waste of time, but a time of investment. The work that God does in your spirit during this time will determine the stability and longevity of your breakthrough. The roots that grow in hidden seasons make your faith unshakable. When your breakthrough arrives, it will not be fleeting or fragile. It will be steady and enduring because it is supported by deep roots. These roots will sustain you through future challenges and seasons of growth. Hidden seasons teach you to be patient with God's process. They remind you that growth is often slow and invisible, but always purposeful. They prepare you to walk in humility and dependence, knowing that your strength comes from God alone. No one sees the roots growing, but they hold everything together. The same is true for your breakthrough. The hidden seasons may feel lonely and difficult, but they are producing public stability that will stand the test of time. When your moment comes, you will be ready, not just to enjoy the breakthrough, but to sustain it and make it fruitful for years to come. Real faith isn't loud or frantic. It's quiet, confident, and anchored. In a world that values noise and speed, faith that is steady and calm often goes unnoticed. Yet this is the faith that truly endures. Real faith does not need to shout its presence or demand attention. It does not chase after signs or feel the need to prove itself constantly. Instead, it rests in the assurance of God's promises and remains unwavering even when circumstances are difficult or confusing. Many times, people mistake loudness for strength. They believe faith must be demonstrated through dramatic displays or constant declarations. But real faith operates differently. It is the calm in the storm, the steady heartbeat in the silence, the peaceful trust that does not waver when tests come, does not react impulsively to every challenge. It doesn't crumble under pressure or fade when hope seems dim. Real faith is anchored deeply in God's character and His word. When faith is loud and frantic, it is often fueled by anxiety or desperation. It tries to control the outcome because it fears loss or disappointment. This kind of faith is unstable because it relies on emotions or external evidence. It may experience temporary highs, but struggles to maintain consistency. On the other hand, faith that is quiet and confident is grounded in the unchanging nature of God. It understands that His timing is perfect and His plans are good, even when they don't align with our expectations. Anchored faith is a refuge. It offers peace that surpasses understanding. When life's storms rage, anchored faith holds firm without panicking or doubting. It knows that the foundation it stands on is solid and cannot be shaken. This kind of faith has been tested and refined through trials. It does not ignore difficulties but faces them with courage because it trusts in God's power to bring victory. Quiet faith often grows in the hidden places. It is nurtured in prayer rooms, in moments of solitude, and through personal struggles. It is faith that chooses to remain faithful even when no one is watching. It chooses to worship and trust when answers are delayed. This faith is not concerned with applause or recognition. It is concerned with remaining true to God no matter what. When faith is anchored, it is not easily swayed by popular opinion or external circumstances. It does not rely on the validation of others to feel strong. Instead, it draws strength from a deep personal relationship with God. It knows Him intimately and has experienced His faithfulness over time. This kind of faith stands firm even in isolation because it is rooted in the reality of God's presence, not the opinions of people. Real faith is also patient. It understands that breakthrough may not come immediately, but it waits with expectation and hope. It does not rush God or demand an explanation. Instead, it trusts that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating all things for good. This patience is not passive waiting, but active trust. It continues to believe and obey even when the path is unclear. Faith that is frantic often leads to frustration and burnout. It tries to carry the weight alone and exhausts itself in the process. But anchored faith knows its limits and leans on God's strength. It rests in His grace and allows Him to lead. This faith is humble, recognizing that without God it can do nothing. It is confident not because of its own power, but because of God's promises. Quiet confidence in faith also brings stability to others. When your faith is steady, it becomes a source of encouragement for those around you. People see a calmness in you that doesn't depend on circumstances. They see a trust that is contagious. Your anchored faith can inspire others to hold on, to believe, and to hope even when things seem impossible. Real faith is a journey, not a moment. It grows over time as you experience God's goodness and learn to trust Him more deeply. It is tested in seasons of waiting, hardship, and uncertainty. But every test strengthens the roots of your faith, making it more resilient. The more anchored your faith becomes, the less likely it is to be shaken by life's storms. An important aspect of anchored faith is humility. It acknowledges that faith is a gift from God and not something we muster up on our own. It understands that spiritual growth is a process and that we need God's help every step of the way. This humility allows faith to remain flexible and teachable, open to correction and growth, rather than rigid or defensive. Faith that is loud and frantic often reflects a desire for control. It wants to dictate how and when things should happen. But anchored faith surrenders control to God. It says, "Your will, not mine." This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of trust. It recognizes that God's ways are higher than ours and that He sees the bigger picture. Because anchored faith is confident, it does not need constant reassurance. It does not demand proof before believing. It rests on the promises found in Scripture and the personal experiences of God's faithfulness. This kind of faith is steady, reliable, and enduring. It is the faith that carries you through the darkest valleys and into the light of breakthrough. The world may value loudness and quick results, but God values faith that perseveres quietly and confidently. This faith honors Him by trusting in His timing and sovereignty. It honors Him by remaining steadfast when nothing seems to be changing. And it honors Him by being ready when breakthrough finally comes, standing firm on the solid foundation laid in the hidden seasons of quiet faith. Anchored faith is the key to lasting victory. It is the faith that will not fail, that will not falter, and that will not fade away. It is the faith that God delights in and uses to move mountains. This faith knows that real breakthrough is not just about changing circumstances, but about being transformed into the image of Christ, steady, strong, and anchored in love. The true breakthrough is becoming the person who can carry the blessing, not just receive it. Many people dream of breakthrough, financial freedom, healing, success, or restoration, but often overlook the transformation required to sustain what God wants to give. Breakthrough is not simply a moment or an event. It is a process of becoming. God is not just interested in changing your situation. He is interested in changing you. He wants to shape your character, refine your heart, and prepare you to steward the blessings He will entrust to you. When blessings come without preparation, they can be overwhelming or even destructive. Without maturity and wisdom, what was meant for good can become a source of struggle or downfall. But when God develops you first, breakthrough becomes sustainable. You don't just receive favor, you carry it well. You carry it well. You don't just get success, you maintain it. You don't just taste victory, you live in it with grace and humility. The person who can carry breakthrough has learned important lessons in patience and perseverance. They have endured seasons of waiting without bitterness. They have walked through hardship without losing faith. This endurance builds strength of character that is necessary for leadership and influence. God raises up people who can bear responsibility, not just for themselves, but for others. True breakthrough often involves increased influence over finances, relationships, ministries, or communities, and that requires a heart prepared for stewardship. Carrying breakthrough also means having integrity. It means being honest, trustworthy, and faithful in small things. Small things. Often the test before breakthrough is in how we handle what seems insignificant. God watches how we manage little before He entrusts much. Integrity guards against the pride and complacency that can come with success. It keeps your breakthrough rooted in humility and dependence on God rather than self-reliance. Another key quality of the person who carries breakthrough is generosity. True breakthrough does not hoard or cling tightly to what is received. It flows out to bless others. Generosity is a sign of a heart transformed by God's grace. Demonstrates a recognition that everything we have is a gift and that we are stewards, not owners. When breakthrough is carried with generosity, it becomes a source of blessing, multiplying beyond the initial gift. The person who can carry breakthrough is also one who remains teachable. They understand that growth never stops. Even after a breakthrough, there are new lessons to learn, new challenges to face, and new levels of faith to reach. A teachable spirit keeps you humble and open to God's continued work in your life. It allows you to navigate success without becoming prideful or complacent. Spiritual maturity is central to carrying breakthrough. It involves a deepening relationship with God, ongoing prayer, and a lifestyle of worship. The breakthrough that lasts is one that is grounded in God's presence and power. Without this foundation, breakthroughs can be temporary and fragile. But when God is at the center, your breakthrough becomes a testimony of His faithfulness and love. The process of becoming the person who can carry breakthrough often includes refining through trials. Difficult seasons are not just obstacles, but opportunities to develop qualities like resilience, faithfulness, and wisdom. These seasons teach reliance on God and produce fruit that endures. They prepare your heart to manage breakthrough with grace rather than entitlement. God desires not to give you a quick, but to bring lasting transformation. He wants you to grow from glory to glory, each breakthrough leading to a higher level of maturity and responsibility. This is why breakthrough is often preceded by testing. It's God's way of ensuring you are ready for what is to come, so you do not stumble or fall under the weight of His blessings. To carry breakthrough means to walk in purpose. It means understanding the assignment God has given you and embracing it fully. When breakthrough aligns with God's purpose for your life, it brings fulfillment and impact. You become a channel through which God's goodness flows to others. Your breakthrough becomes a beacon of hope and a testimony that encourages many. Many miss their breakthrough because they are not prepared to carry it. They focus on the destination without preparing for the journey. But God is always working to shape you along the way. He is equipping you with the character, wisdom, and strength needed to handle the breakthrough when it arrives. The blessing is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter that requires readiness and responsibility. Becoming the person who can carry breakthrough involves surrender. It requires giving God full control over your life plans and desires. It means allowing Him to mold you according to His will rather than your own. Surrender opens the door for God to transform you from the inside out, making you capable of stewarding His blessings well. It also means cultivating a heart of gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have received. It keeps you grounded and joyful, even in seasons of waiting. A grateful heart attracts God's favor and positions you to receive more blessings. It reminds you that breakthrough is a gift, not a right. The breakthrough you long for will not just change your story. It will change you. God's plan is to develop you into a person of influence, impact, and integrity. When you become that person, breakthrough naturally follows. It is no longer about chasing after blessings, but about living in the fullness of what God has already prepared for you. So prepare yourself. Grow in character, deepen your faith, and cultivate humility. Embrace the refining process and trust that God is working all things for your good. The real breakthrough is not just about receiving. It's about becoming the person who can carry what God is ready to give you. When you reach that place, your breakthrough will not only come, it will last. It will be a testimony of God's transforming power in your life and a source of blessing for generations to come. This is the breakthrough worth waiting for, worth fighting for, and worth becoming.